Okay, it's a shame not to be using this right now because basically my camera failed, as some of you know, and wear and tear, I don't know, loose wire. I mean, I could, it's all so sealed. I hate it when things are sealed. I could get in it. I got about just over a decade's worth of technical soldering experience. I have a soldering iron, yeah, I could resolder a wire. That's probably all it is, but it's not connecting, it's not seeing it. So when I'm not on camera, I'm using OBS on the laptop and using this microphone. When I'm on camera, I'm using a tablet PC with its microphone. That's why you're going to get a difference in sound. Just noticed something with I've never kept Neocardina shrimp before, otherwise known as cherry shrimp. I got the fire red variant, color variant, and certainly for a tank to be ready, you need the plants to be growing a bit, real plants, substrate, algae growing, biofilms growing, maybe even some detritus worms coming in and out the substrate. That's a shrimp tank, a shrimp ready tank. One thing that a lot of people new to hobby, when it comes to more sensitive things like these shrimp, um, they they introduce these things too early, and there's no biofilm to feed on. There's good sustenance for them. There's no algae, perhaps, and other detritus. Detritus just broken down matter like you got biofilm is bacterial colonies taken in wood on wood. A biofilm will form like a fine slimy layer. You might think, ugh, but you barely even know it's there. You keep the water clean enough, the shrimp will be happy. These biofilms are like they're using the sugars out of the driftwood and doing things like that, and other things going on. So, get floating plants in. I have red root floaters. These types of shrimp love to pick up the roots of that, keep the roots clean, and this just aids more variety for those roots to bring in the nutrients. Anyway, they don't get blocked, kind of thing. For floating plants, that's a good thing. So, on top of that is they hide really well. So I had a small bottle of 10 cherry shrimp. I had one die, and I just taken it off as a blip. It's fine because all the others seem fine. I was worried that perhaps more had gone because I couldn't see any of them for quite some time, and looking around, and oh, there's one. You spot them. They are very good at hiding. But here's the thing, though: they're very good at hiding, and when they come out in the open, they seem to come out in the open together. So just now it came to 9 anyway, so it don't get too worried about them disappearing and coming back. And that's something I wanted to do with building this biosystem, this ecosystem in the tank behind me. There's gonna be other creatures that go in there, but I have some tiny copepods moving around, feeding on growths like algal growths and biofilms. There's some detritus worms in there. They're tiny, tiny white worms in the substrate. What you don't want is planaria worms. I'll talk about that perhaps in a separate video. And I have some ram's horn snails going around eating some of the algae as well. And of course their waste will go down into the substrate and help feed the plants as well. And this whole cycle of things going on. So I came to them just now. They're out in the open and they look awesome. The lighting, I do need to change the lighting a little bit because I need something that goes across the length of the tank. And was it Churros? something like that. There's a make of a LED lighting. It's fully programmable. You can get day and night cycle going through. That's really, this is programmable, sort of, but it's mind-blowingly unintuitive, the menu system, and I forget which model it is because it's a while since I had the packaging somewhere, but the instruction manual's somewhere. So I need to really get I want to get a proper day and night cycle going on there, because it's just kind of all out of sync at the moment and gets too bright sometimes. And if I'm around, I think it's too bright because you've got too much light. If it's too bright, you get too much algal growth, and you rank it down a bit, and you can control the algae a bit. But you want something to be growing in there. Algae is not a problem really. It can look unsightly, but generally things can feed on it, right? Snails can feed on it. Octocinclus catfish can feed on that, but they can be sensitive as well to water parameters. So can the shrimp. If you're going to do any water change at all, which generally over time, once it's really going properly, you shouldn't be doing any water changes. You shouldn't need to, rather, if past a certain point, at least for the way I want to do it. So I have recently done a bit of a water change just to get things tweaked a little bit. If you're reintroducing fresh water, particularly if it's from a tap or whatever, you need to slow drip that in very, very slowly. Otherwise, you're going to get them feeling sick and probably die from the, it needs to be slowly introduced over an hour or so. When you first get cherry shrimp or Neocardina shrimp, you need to introduce them to the water, not really like how you've seen in shops when they have new stock. They're all in bags ready to be acclimatized to the water. Really, over like a couple of hours, 2 hours at least, you want to slow drip into from the tank water into the water that the shrimp came with. Because, once they're in there too early, it might seem like they're okay, but they've probably been shocked and stunned because the water parameters is, this is too much all at once, and some of them will suffer because of that. So this is what I did, and the one that died, maybe it's possible that the water parameter change was too much for them, and I don't really know what the water parameters are. Maybe I should. I am convinced it's softer than the last time I did this and thought, I need a bit of a reset. Changed the substrate, because I was experimenting with substrates. I was using a bit of old substrate along with some new and made a combination, and it's like too fancy. I think there was too much nutrients, but the water was hard. This substrate you can buy in a big bag, it's just that one, actually helps soften the water. It'll bring the pH levels differently as well. And Neocardina shrimp prefer it to be softer water, but they want some minerals in the water to use, so it aids their shedding ability. They shed the shells and pop out of those. Shed the skin or shell. It's called chitting, I think. The outer layers are made of, they shed out of that as they grow. So you can mitigate some of that by adding some rocks into, if they struggle with shedding, add some rock into the hardscape, which can wear and tear finally, very slowly over time, into the water with minerals and so on. So I think that's that in a nutshell. If a tank's too clean, you put substrate in, you put a few plants in, you put water in, and then you put your the shrimp in. No, give it a chance. Give it a chance to biologically stabilize plants. Sure, I think some of the plants are not really quite outdoing some of the algae in a tank at the moment, but the shrimp will help the plants outdo it because they'll be eating the algae as well as the ram's horn snails. I was going to wait another week to put shrimp in, but I thought, well, it won't hurt right now because how you judge is it ready? You can see residual growth like biofilms, molds and things on things, algae growing, and detritus, worms, copepods, which are tiny little dots that might be moving around. That's part of the biology aiding the breaking down of things that could be detrimental to the shrimp, and it's also aiding a growth of things that is beneficial to the shrimp, like the biofilms. Yeah. So, although people brand new think, "Ooh, it's complicated," it's actually not, because all that biology, you don't have to put that in there. You wait for the algal growth to emerge. As long as there's nutrition in there and there's lighting, fine spores actually in the very air you breathe can hit the water and you get an algal growth, and bacterial growth is going to happen anyway all on its own. So don't put a tank in with just gravel and plastic things. That's anti-life. You can't get a foothold. And you shove shrimp in there, well, what food that might be available, their waste then isn't being broken down by anything, and it's going to really upset the balance, and your shrimp are just going to die. It's particularly if you're one of these individuals who have been fooled into thinking that you need to do a big 50% water change every week. No, you don't. Just observe, and it's your observation that the shrimp seem to be happy and okay swimming around and picking off surfaces. Then why, but if they seem a bit lethargic, maybe not a 50%, maybe 25% water change, and reintroduce water very, very slowly. And again, at some point, the way I want to do it, if I'm successful, I'll get past the point of you don't need water changes. It will kind of, the biology and the chemistry will be looking after itself. Water itself is just water. I know that sounds obvious, but water quality is dictated by what's dissolved into the water. And there's all kinds of terms now that can get a bit complicated, but some of the measurements I find are totally pointless. They seem to be pointless. Like TDS, total dissolved solids. Well, it doesn't tell you which solids are dissolved. It's like you can get this measuring kit that tells you how much TDS there is, but what are you measuring is a pointless thing. Check that out. Water hardness and softness. Harder the water, the more TDS there is anyway. But if there's a better language, harder water is more minerals dissolved into the water, as opposed to less. And the lesser is, the more acidic perhaps the water might be, as opposed to hard. So acidic water would be the soft water, hard would be the. So shrimp like a slightly more acidic than hard, but you need those minerals for the shedding of the skin as well. Shedding of the outer casing, outer shell, whatever it's called, right? And I think I've got that. There's certainly some hardness to the tap water. I'm convinced of that. And there's some softness that the substrate causes to the water, because the little pellets of soil, that aqua soil, take in some of the minerals, and it builds up, but then it releases them back out at a slower rate that it can soak them up. So it's good, kind of like a sponge like that. And the release is also going to be good for plants past a certain point, too much hardness. I've found the chemistry is I had trouble growing Monte Carlo, despite most people saying it's a great, easy beginner carpeting plant. Is because the water was too hard, I think, looking at certain ins and outs. So eventually I'll put some Monte Carlo in anyway. It's a great carpeting plant. I have some dwarf hairgrass in there as well. So it's just the tank just behind me, and cherry shrimp I probably can't see from here. Maybe I can't zoom in with that. No, walk around. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take care, and I'll look forward to doing another video soon. I will be uploading more about the command line terminal for Linux, and going from the very, very basics, very short videos, all the way up to some fancy complexities. But if I was to put that out first, a beginner might look at it and go, I can't do this. Which is my response really from when I saw that when I was very first time I fired up a Linux terminal and seen some tutorials out there, and I didn't even know what I was supposed to be doing, and telling me to do all these things, and I went, what is this for? But obviously, as you've seen, it's easier to get a manual description of things, as well as if you want to listen to somebody teaching, type this, but you can type in man and then space and the name of the program that you've been using, like the list command, like I said in the previous videos. So that's coming. So that's coming for how to use a Linux terminal, but how to do some things on Linux as well, other things outside of the command terminal, information about fish keeping, shrimp coming. Over on the other channel, I'll be doing videos about composite materials that I've mentioned. I still, feels like I've been saying that I have been saying it actually all year and still not really done it. There are a lot of things this year kind of in the way, and last year in the way of my own productivity. But I'm buckling down. I'm just slicing through whatever noise is online and offline, because I have to be more focused and grounded. Particularly this time of year, I don't function too well because the lack of sunlight. I've been so sleepy today, and I just can't wake up. Seasonal acute disorder is a real thing. Most people always say, yeah, I get sleepy in the winter as well. They don't they don't get it when somebody else is saying, yeah, I really can't function. Sometimes, some days. Yeah. All we want to do is sleep. Yeah. And it is vitamin D related. Certainly, perhaps I'll do a separate video on that. I've done videos on that before, but again, this YouTube channel can a massive cleanup and reordering, reprioritizing what I was really here to start with in the first place. And roll on January 2026. Wow. I say roll on, I don't want to wish my life away, but there's certain things I've been observing over the internet. I'm thinking, well, the only reason I put out something recently to bait somebody, because I think, the walls are closing in for them, and they deserve to be closing in for that individual, or some of those individuals. But it's pointless me doing videos about them, really, because it's in the way of what I really want to do on this YouTube channel. Cheers, take care, bye bye.